Are you having a crisis? Can you not escape your daily routine? Did you buy a house with a bad foundation? Hi, I'm Taylor Ellis, the creator of the Ellis Deck Tarot and the Tarot of the Starbound Phantasia, and welcome to the Pretty Picture Party. Today we're talking about the Tower card, and this has nothing to do with the Tower card. I just have to do this today. Now that I think about it, this does kind of have something to do with the Tower card, in a way. So the Tower card gets kind of a bad rap because it's a disaster. But like cleaning an oven, it's something you've got to go through, and stuff ends up being a lot better after you're done. And to me, that's a big tell of the Tower card. If we talk about the elemental correspondence of the Tower card, we get fire. And, you know, like the wand suit, there's a lot of cards that get fire. So what we need to do is think about how that card specifically relates to fire and what fire means for that card. And I would say think about something like a house burning down. Of course, that doesn't sound very good. But scale it up on the grand scheme of things. You know, the house burns down, you get this insurance payoff, you're able to move, get new things, and it's not really perfect or ideal, but it's kind of a reset. And with the fire element, we can think about like the Archangel Michael is related to the fire element. That is the archangel that presides over that element. And the Archangel Michael is often depicted kind of stomping on Lucifer, kind of subjugating this fallen angel, I guess restoring an order. And we have to think of the tower that way as well. And another angel related to the Tower card itself specifically, looking in Damien Eccles' Angels and Archangels, where I found the information is that Samael is the Archangel of the Tower card. And Samael is often referred to as the venom of God. What's that? That, you know, kind of like Michael, it's like let me send out this guy to do the dirty work, I guess. And you know, the act of toppling the tower is kind of an act of doing the dirty work, deposing the dictator. And you know, there's sometimes where Samael is depicted as like Satan or you know, the king of hell or whatever. And I guess if you're going to look at things that way, you would say, well, then that's the guy that's in charge of punishing the damned. You know, I don't really have that as part of my belief system, but it's easy to see how you could take something like the Tower card, which would represent this material wealth, you know, having these people that elevate themselves above natural law, or they think that they do, and then things come toppling down anyway, and they oftentimes in history have found themselves, you know, worse off than the people they were oppressing. Astrologically, we would associate the Tower with Mars. And we can think about Mars in the way that we would think about Aries, which Mars also rules. So I'm talking about Aries, the sign, and I'm talking about Aries, the god of war. And Mars also rules Scorpio. And both of those signs have a lot of kind of impulsive, kind of rashness. And so think about the striking energy of the tower. Think about it being this abrupt action, and it's not isolated. It's something that's kind of like it was a long time coming. But in the instance of it, it's like a flash. It's very abrupt, and like Mars is something where think about Mars as being like I only like knowledge that leads to action. Kind of like our pages are like where they want to see the results. They don't want to just sit and kind of philosophize all day. And Mars doesn't want to sit and philosophize. Mars would look at this tower and go, the big baddie is up there. I'm not going to sit here and ponder about what creates a villain. He's like, we can do that. We can do that later. Right now, I'm going to go kick this guy's ass. So Aries is kind of hot-headed and impulsive, and Scorpio is kind of forceful and intense. And if we're going to knock over a structure that's that big and that powerful, we need both of those energies. And the bravery that comes from Mars is, one from a lack of fear, not necessarily inner courage, which, courage is like being afraid and doing it anyway. And this bravery is just straight up not being afraid. And there's a little bit of a caution with that, because if we take like the author Ding Ming Dao, when he talks about bravery, he says, don't trust a brave person with your life because they don't even value theirs. So this is something that we're getting into, and there's definite warnings in it. There's definite be careful. But this is something where I think the tower, think of like inevitability, and there's almost a reliability and an honesty in that. It's like it's coming. It's you're not gonna like it, but it's the logical conclusion of the situation that's been created. These caked on spots are really hard to get. So with the I Ching, we look at that and we get wind over water. And I'll use the site, the Hermines site, and I'll link that down below. And that's where I get my I Ching correspondences a lot of the time these days. But the wind over water trigram is a lot like our hydrogen peroxide spray over caked on, burnt up, crusty stuff. Is a gradual process is taking place. Think about wind blowing over ice, which is the image of this card. And so ice is something that the flow of water, like the life stream, our energy, has hardened. Nature has been seized, and like winter, it's something that's we just kind of endure it when we get winters. We didn't really get one this year, but we have to let kind of things happen. And when spring comes along, there's kind of our Aries again, but spring comes along and starts to slowly wear away at this thing. And while we do think of the act of wind in dispersion as kind of a graduality, what it does lead to is sooner or later a vulnerability in the ice or our crusted up burnt oven stuff, where we can have a breakthrough. So again, we talk about like damned vital energy, and the idea that something need to break to actually fix the situation. Think about surgery is kind of like injury with a plan. We got to get in there. We got to cut somebody open to fix it. So there is kind of a big wound that happens even in the act of healing. And so Wilhelm Baines and Benabel Wynn are both in agreement on the idea that this is kind of this voice of God, like our Samael talking again. And they say that like the ultimate ruler is the Tao. Where we might have a king that's up in a tower, But what happens? Eventually, if the king is unjust, people get to where they're not going to ignore it, or things are, so bad they don't care what happens to them, or the king, he he dies of old age or something like that. So we go up in a tower when we're scared or when we're imprisoned, and the king, they're up there, they're looking down on everybody. But what happens if he makes the guy that fixes the tower mad? And they don't fix the tower anymore. The tower crumbles. Oh, I missed a spot. And what happens? The tower falls apart. We're almost done. I was going to get stuff on the phone doing it like that. But another thing that Benabel Wynn talks about is with 59 is that you kind of have to set aside your personal interests and pursue public interests, and it's like the loss of the individual, in sometimes the angry mob or the revolution or just a movement, a political movement or something. People kind of have to give up what's comfortable to them, because what needs to be done is not pleasant, and what needs to be done isn't ideal, and it sometimes you have to give up petty squabbles with each other and come together in a certain way. But she says that this hexagram reveals that the voice of Shangdi, which is the heavenly emperor, is the voice of the oracle, and the heavenly emperor is an unpersonified god. They're not a god with an ego. So again, there's ego loss in the tower. And the god without the ego is the Tao, the kind of the common ancestor of everything. All right, oven is clean. I'm gonna smell like peroxide cleaner the rest of the day, but now we can play with tarot cards. And so we're gonna start with the Ellis deck, like we like to do. And yeah, what we have here is the logical conclusion of beachfront property. Um, we'll start at the bottom, and we see that the moon is affecting tides. And so what we have here is like wild subconscious energy. Think about like, say you're in a situation, and it could be a relationship, or it could be a job, or it could be something where you're living beyond your means, and you're putting on your game face every day, and you're like, this is fine, this is good, I'm doing, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, but subconsciously it's not. And things are coming out in Freudian slips. You're fucking things up. You're not doing your best, and it's not like you're intentionally sabotaging, but you're kind of subconsciously sabotaging. All right, and we move up a little bit, and we have a look at the cliff here. And think about the Fool's card in this deck, the Fool's Journey. And he's standing at the edge of this purple cliff and kind of looking out at the journey to be taken, and the opposite of this would be like the building a tower there. Like the fool goes, you know what, actually I like it here. I'm gonna I'm not gonna sail the seas of uncertainty. I'm not gonna take that risk. What I'm gonna do is go for the sure thing, and I'm going to dig in. And it's like he overstayed his welcome. Like if you look at the full card, the grass is green. Looking here, like the grass is brown. The leaves are brown. The inevitable has been delayed. So that brings us up to the tower itself here. And we kind of see how it's made of like these inorganic rectangles. And it's not like a patterned brick. It's more like they're neatly stacked together. Um, but they're not, it's like an organized chaos. It's like we made it work. And the bricks are the rectangles, and think about like the rectangles in our life, like our TV screens or our phones, or I don't know, our HOAs, stuff that is really trying to just cram everything into a certain box. And it's like a failed attempt at trying to like package, organize, like curtail nature. um, and so, maybe like we're in the tower and we're like, oh, well, it might crash into the sea. Well, if I go up to the top, if I go all the way up to the top, I might be safe. And no, we've got our other alchemical cosmic influence up here. The sun is like, mm-mm, buddy, I got two scoops for you. And here comes the solar flare, and it's cutting through the tower like warm butter. It's like the conscious action is now attacking. So we have the subconscious is like, nope. The conscious is like, nope. It is like we have reached the moment of nope. And you'll look behind. The sky is black. The tower is kind of like our dark night of the soul. Like, I know that I keep saying like, oh, this is great, this ultimately is a victory, but when we're going through it, it's ass. It sucks. It is not a good time. And it is really, it is a test of our endurance. It's not painless, but it's something that we are having to go through. All right, that brings us to the Starbound Phantasia. And we're going to go top down with this guy. We'll start with the sky in the background. And it's like this red realm, like the root chakra has taken over everything. Like it's good to be grounded, but it's at some point we got to think beyond that. This is more like the lizard brain has taken over. This tower is almost like it exists. It's very Barad-dûr coded, if I'm not mutilating that, but it's like if Sauron got his way. And it's like everything's done by force in this world. It's devoid of compassion. And we don't have the sun per se in this card, but we have our seven-pointed star with this bolt. And like the seven-pointed star is like our wheel. It's like what Benabel Wynn was saying about the Tao being the real king. It's not a threat, it's an inevitability. The bolt is like our Samael, like that's the venom of God. He's blasting the Belvedere. And if I research that right, that's what you call the top of a tower. And now I think of like Mr. Belvedere, and like how he lived in the house and looked down on the family that he was taking care of, and wrote in his diary about what clowns they were. And if you're 1,000 years old, you remember that show. But he's blasting the Belvedere, the top of the tower off, and it's falling away. And to understand why this is a good thing, we look at the tower, and it's like a totem pole of a sick society. And we'll start at the top with the crown, and it's all gold. It's like this hideous king's head. He's like, he's wearing, if you can see it, he's got the cube of creation there in his forehead. Like attempt to control reality itself, like seizing creativity in the world, like maybe like using like AI to create propaganda, because no artist will self-respecting artist would draw this stuff for you, or no self-respecting videographer would shoot these scenarios for you, something like that. But they've got no eyes. They're blind to what they do. I can't remember. I want to say it was, we talked about Dune earlier a little bit, but maybe I didn't talk about Dune. But I think that uh, in at some point, Frank Herbert, unless I'm thinking of somebody else, says that the blind are the most dangerous, because they can't see what they're stepping on in their path. And that's no offense to blind people. That's like an allegory for not caring what you're doing. And so we go to the middle here, and we can see our hourglass, which is actually our alchemical holy grail in the holy grail sequence of this deck. And it's like the great work. And it was like in the tower, it's like this king. It's like the kind of dark lord that would take the laws of the universe and then um, try to dominate them and use. I see him. I didn't clean up after doing the oven, but to him himself, he's like, this is mine to control. But now that's been liberated. Now the great work of like Zen and compassion and awareness is restored as like the actual king of the scenario. If we look below that, we have angelic figures, and they're made to bend down in worship of gold. And so that's like something like the Antichrist, or something like anti-Christianity, like our prosperity gospel again, about how rich you are equals how just you are. And we go below that and we see these knights holding these golden blades, and they're plunging downward, and that's meant to represent this like state violence, and as a tool of oppression. And who are they stabbing? But the very people who are basically, they don't realize it, but it's we have underneath them are people wearing golden masks, and they're offering gold upwards as well. And they identify their material wealth as who they are. Who am I? What I own? How many riches I have? And they're offering their fealty to this oppressive system because it's what they think elevates them, even though they're almost at the bottom of this totem pole. The only ones that they're standing on the backs of are the ultimately the oppressed themselves, who have these giant bodies. It's like the idea of the masses, who, if they were free, would topple this tower themselves. But they're made to focus. They're scrounging the gold off the ground, and they're piling it up in front of themselves, but before who's standing on top of them takes them away and sends it upwards. And so again, that's why I say that when the tower's toppled, it's not a bad thing. It's a pain to go through, but these towers, these systems, they don't work. They work for somebody, for a while, but that person doesn't even understand that they themselves are a prisoner. They are just, they have the shiniest cell. If we look at the teeth, if we go back and look at the teeth of this king, that the one window up at the top has prison bars. The king's teeth are like these prison bars, or like Darth Vader teeth. I don't know. Whether you locked yourself up there or your enemies dragged you up there, you're a prisoner. This card has come to show you that your freedom will be bought with pain and loss. But there's potential for something new and a chance to rebuild something more organic. I think it's really important to look at the tower card and what comes before it, which is the devil, or power, and the ultimate use of spiritual and material abilities to attempt to dominate the world. But it just leads to this tower, and that the tower represents this egoic version of ourselves. And we can't exist without the ego. It's our game piece in this world. Trying to live without an ego is like trying to play Monopoly without a game piece, or your favorite RPG without a character menu. But the following cards are the star. They're the moon. They're the sun. They're the aeon. They're the world. It's like your home stretch, your cosmic graduation ceremony. It requires this destruction of the self, and it's not. We don't destroy the ego. We can't do that. The ego is always there. We have to be like Shiva, wearing the serpent as like a crown. It's like this mastery of the ego. We realize we're like, hey, You're not writing me, I'm writing you. If you made it this far, that's really cool. You can hit like and subscribe for free down below. Also, very cool. If you have a suggestion for a card you'd like me to talk about, down below, send me a comment. I would love that. I'm going to link any resources I used. And if you have any other questions, want to add something to the conversation, again, down below. If you want to buy any of my stuff, links are down below. Other than that, happy reading.